What's up, everybody? Matt Maran here for another weekly update. So there's lots of exciting news to go over here this week. Some really good things for enthusiasts here. And so anyway, before I get into all that though, I first want to mention that I will be doing my usual weekly live stream here on Sunday at noon Eastern time. So join if you can. We always have a good time talking cars and answering all your questions. Anyway, getting into the news here this week. First off, Autocar got to talk with Toyota's new CEO Koji Sato recently, and he said some interesting stuff here that gives us hope that there's more GR models on the way, even though the GR86's chief engineer just last year said that they were basically done with the GR models, at least for the foreseeable future, you know, after the GR86 and the GR Corolla. But according to the CEO, who, I mean, he's the guy making the decision. So he said here just this past weekend that the Gazoo brand will be acknowledged for the future, and maybe we can even speed it up. And then he added that our master driver was also president of the company at the same time, as he had a steering wheel in his hand for Gazoo. Now he is only chairman. Maybe he will have more time to develop cars for them. And so seemed like a little suggestion there that you know, maybe it's actually going to be good news for the GR brand with Akio Toyoda, not being the CEO anymore, because, I mean, it's a very good point. Frees up more time, and so a very nice hint there from Mr. Sato there, and hopefully they have some more stuff on the way. That'd be great. You know, there was rumors recently about a GR Prius, which I think would be awesome, and, you know, we'll hopefully have a new Camry on the way at some point here relatively soon, because it's certainly due for a redo. Maybe that could get a GR version. You know, all kinds of possibilities, of course, with Toyota's massive lineup. So we'll have to wait and see, but more performance stuff, the better. And so great to hear that. For some more good news here for enthusiasts, and also from Toyota here, they revealed 2 more teasers for the 2024 Tacoma this week, and thankfully this week's teasers are a lot more interesting than the more mundane stuff we've been getting recently. So the first one shows off 3 pedals here on Instagram and confirms the 6-speed manual will continue to be offered here in the new Tacoma, and that makes it also the only midsize truck to offer a manual still, aside from the Gladiator. Everyone else got rid of it in the segment, and so you know, not only is it just cool of them to offer it, but it's also like going against basically the whole market, which takes guts and bravery, especially from the accountants. So the fact that they're going for that, I don't know what the take rate is for manual Tacomas currently, but it can't be high. But it's either high enough to justify keeping it around, or Toyota's just throwing a bone to the enthusiasts there. And either way, it's awesome, and so great to, you know, see that. And that also makes it kind of interesting as far as which direction that sends us, because, you know, if you think about it, so it could, one way it could go is that they carry over the old naturally aspirated V6 that pairs up with that manual transmission currently. That would be good news for the traditionalists that were worried that the Tacoma was going to be all hybrids or all turbo 4-cylinders, because that's been the rumors. And so a lot of people were like, well, if I want, you know, a good old tried and true V6, I might be out of luck for the new Tacoma. That might not be the case now. If, you know, I mean, that's probably the safest bet, is that maybe this motor will carry over, and that's the only way the manual is going to be available, is just the same way it's available currently, which is, I think, in like the TRD Sport version, and that's it. So there's that, which still could be good news, again, especially for those traditionalists. The other exciting idea is that maybe they went to the trouble of mating up a manual transmission with these new powertrains. You know, there's talk of it being the 2.4-liter Turbo 4. We don't know what powertrains it's going to have yet, aside from an iForce Max badge there on the back in the one teaser. That would be really sweet if that one was paired up with a manual. I'm not holding my breath for any of that stuff, or anything, you know, new engine-wise getting a manual, but that could be really cool, and that also opens up possibilities if it's, you know, made to work in the Tacoma. What else could maybe get a manual in the future, you know? And I don't know. I mean, Toyota's awesome enough. They've been, you know, daring enough to go and do some of these things that, you know, most others wouldn't, you know, dare to do. So, you know, I don't know. Maybe we'll see a recurrence and a resurgence here of manuals within Toyota across the lineup. Who knows? But anyway, very exciting to, you know, get that again. Either way, always good to see a new manual, you know, announcement here, because they're getting more and more rare, sadly, as the manual continues to go off into obsolescence little by little. But anyway. So the other bit of teaser stuff here that we got is that they showed off the side silhouette here, and that also gives us some really good news, and some news that's also a counter to what you usually see from this industry in this segment. So they confirmed here, essentially, they didn't come out and say it, but you can see there's different bed lengths, and there's also going to be different cab configurations there. So unlike stuff like the new Colorado and Canyon that are doing just, the crew cab, short bed, and that's it, Toyota's going to be offering, it looks like it, either like a crew cab and then also like a extended cab, as well as, a long and short bed. So great to give people options. Once again, people want options. They don't want to be forced into just one thing. Even if that one thing is the most popular thing, there's still those outliers that get left out in the rain. So I think this is great that Toyota's hopefully going to be including everyone, including the manual lovers, including people who want different bed lengths, different cab configurations. It sounds like there's going to really be a Tacoma for basically everyone here with these new versions. And so that's also great. And also, along with that second teaser, we got a reveal date, thankfully. They announced it'll be debuting here on May 19th, which is actually a Friday, not a Taco Tuesday. I would have assumed they would have been debuting it on a Tuesday since they've been rolling with that whole thing for all the other teasers. But sounds like it's going to be on a Friday now. So stay tuned for that. That's going to be, exciting for that reveal. And at least we only have about 2 weeks here to wait. And another mid-size truck that we kind of got a reveal date for here this week was the new Ford Ranger, which isn't really new because it was already debuted last year, for the rest of the world. And we're going to get basically the same exact thing here, aside from, maybe the engines being a little bit of a different offering here. Aside from that, it should be basically the same. So a little bit more lackluster for that reveal. But supposedly Ford authorities claiming that the reveal of the new Ranger is coming this month. They didn't say exactly when. So, I don't know if they're going to try and beat Toyota to the punch or do it after Toyota. I don't know. But either way, we'll have a new Ford Ranger here, in the next few weeks, I'm sure. So anyway, cool to hear that. GMC this week fully revealed their new truck here, and that is the 2024 Sierra HD AT4X and the Extreme AEV version of that, which takes the formula even further. So in typical GM fashion, it gets all the same improvements as the recently revealed Silverado HD ZR2, and so that means you get 35-inch tires, a 1.5-inch lift, Multimatic DSSV shocks, electronic locking diffs, stronger skid plates, and unique styling. And I actually got to see it in person last week during the 2024 Canyon Drive, which I'll be posting my review of that here this coming Monday. But anyway, this thing looks really cool. It also gets some key upgrades on the inside compared to the Chevy, with the GM, obviously being a little bit nicer, so it gets massaging seats. There's genuine ash wood trim, so some nice improvements there. And like the Silverado HD, it's available with either the 6.6-liter gas V8 that does 401 horsepower and 464 pound-feet of torque, or the 6.6-liter turbo diesel V8 that does 470 horsepower and 975 pound-feet of torque. And that diesel gets the most towing capacity, as you'd likely assume, which is 18,500 pounds for the tow rating on that one. The Extreme AEV version adds on steel bumpers, a winch mount, unique wheels, and more skid plates, and a few other little touches there. And so there's no pricing for either of those yet, but they say they should be arriving here in the third quarter of this year. And back to Ford for a couple more news stories here. So Ford's Vice President of Product Development Operations and Quality, which is quite a title, they recently revealed at the 2023 Bank of America Global Automotive Summit that derivatives are an opportunity when you have a winning product like Bronco to actually extend into new and different spaces and go after different customers. And so Muscle Cars and Trucks reported this at this event and said that the current Bronco editions, according to this executive here, are just the beginning, and that in regards to adding extra trims, Ford is never going to let the foot off the throttle pedal. And so as far as Bronco derivatives, clearly there's already been several, but the one that we still haven't gotten, back in 2019, the former CEO of Ford already announced that there was going to be a hybrid version of the Bronco, and we still haven't seen it here, 4 years later. So I'm not sure where that's at, but I would guess that would be the next one up. If that's something they were planning 4 years ago and it's still not out yet, then unless something happened, hopefully that's something that's going to still come, and that would also, especially I think, make a lot of sense now with the Wrangler 4xe being the most popular plug-in hybrid in America, amazingly, and doing much better, I think, than even Jeep probably expected. So, I think having some type of plug-in hybrid version of the Bronco could certainly be at the top of Ford's mind. So we'll see, there could be some other stuff beyond that, other new sticker packages and things too they could possibly do. We'll have to wait and see, but anyway, interesting to hear that. And the last little bit of Ford news here is that the first off, the Mach-E is getting a new battery for the standard range version, and this one uses a new lithium ion phosphate chemistry similar to what the Tesla Model 3 uses. And so it should provide a longer lifespan, they say, while also not using nickel or cobalt anymore, making them a little less expensive to make and also potentially more ethically sourced, since especially the cobalt is problematic sometimes with where that's sourced from. So this, gets rid of that ethical concern there as well. Plus, Ford says it should charge to 80% about 5 minutes quicker, which is actually a pretty big jump in charging. They didn't explain if the charging rate's faster or if the curve is just better throughout, so that gets that 5 minute faster time that way or what. But that's a nice improvement. They also are going to be getting 2 to 3 extra miles of range and can also discharge faster, which allows the all-wheel drive version of the standard range Mach-E to have 45 more horsepower now for 311 horsepower total. Not going to lie, I'm a little bummed we missed out on that update here for our 2022 Mach-E standard range all-wheel drive. 45 horsepower is pretty significant. That's really cool that they're improving it. And the downside here is that the batteries, they say, are less power dense. So extended range Mach-E's and the GTs and all those will keep the old battery for now and that old chemistry. So the new chemistry here is also said to have slightly worse cold weather performance. So that's another one that, is a little bit of a compromise there. So, I'm not upset about missing out on those things, but the extra performance would have been nice. But then lastly, Ford has also dropped the price of the Mach-E to compete better with the Model Y that keeps dropping in price. And so now Mach-E prices are pretty close to where they were last summer whenever we got ours. And so all the trims drop between $1,000 and $4,000 depending on the trim. And so if you'd like one of these new ones, they were available to order here starting on Wednesday. So you can get one of those. It's, I think, a 2023 and a half. I don't think they're calling it the 2024 just yet. But anyway, interesting to hear that. And while they were talking about those price drops, though, Ford CEO said that the whole price dropping thing that Tesla's doing is a worrying trend due to the damages done to resale values for those that bought during those higher prices, and said there's a limit to how far we'll go. And basically said, it's not worth burning customers and stuff over a price war, basically. And during those remarks, though, he had one other really important update that he mentioned here, and that is that he confirmed that they plan to keep Apple CarPlay and Android Auto around in their vehicles, which is great. Of course, I just talked about a few weeks ago how GM's getting rid of Apple CarPlay and Android Auto in all of their future electric vehicles coming out here this summer and beyond. And Ford's not doing that. And their CEO said about their infotainment systems in general that we kind of lost that battle 10 years ago, and also said that 70% of Ford customers in the US are Apple customers as well. So they definitely don't want to exclude 70% of their customers and leave them out, out to dry without any kind of smartphone integration, So really great that they understand the importance of that feature, unlike the GM people, which supposedly they're sticking with it. They think it's the right decision, and maybe that will turn out to be true if once all this stuff behind the scenes comes to light here as far as what they're working on and why they made the decision they did. But I'm just happy Ford isn't changing anything, at least for now, and that's great to hear. But continuing on with the theme here of car companies adding models and new derivatives here, Automotive News is reporting that their anonymous dealer sources are claiming that McLaren's director of product strategy told dealers recently that McLaren will bring in another class of automobile in 2028. Stay tuned. It may have 4 doors and 4 seats. And a dealer said that it won't be a partnership with any other car company. And also the dealers claimed that a new P1 successor is on the way with a hybrid V8 setup again, but that this one will use a new in-house developed V8 and that the hybrid system will be about 70% lighter than the old one, and while producing much more horsepower and delivering the power more directly to the transmission, supposedly. So, they're claiming it's going to be arriving around 2026, which is when the real hybrid successor to the 720S is also scheduled to arrive. The 750S we just got last week is just like a stopgap here for the next few years until that actual new car is ready. So 2026 seems to be like a big year for McLaren here. So great to hear that. And, as far as the other stuff, they need to survive. They're not doing the best, right now. So I think that, adding those extra models, hopefully it won't be too little too late. Hopefully they get this stuff out maybe even sooner than 2026, and they're able to, help boost their sales numbers a little bit and their profitability as a result. And for the last news story here this week, California announced some new regulations here on large trucks, and it's another internal combustion engine ban. Now, it's obviously not super relevant for enthusiasts since it's talking about like commercial, like heavy-duty trucks and stuff, but there is one new component that is worth talking about here I'll get to in a minute because it could affect enthusiasts in some ways. So, first off, as most people know, California is planning to do a ban on the sale of new gas-powered vehicles by by 2035 for passenger vehicles. And so, that was just for, privately owned vehicles and stuff. But the end of last week, the big news here was that they're banning the sale of most new internal combustion engine trucks by just 2036, which is 4 years sooner than they were originally planning on doing that. And so they say that the sales of electric and hydrogen trucks will need to ramp up each year until then as well. So it's not just like everything's good until 2036. Like it's going to be starting up here really soon, as you'll hear. So the rules are different for different types of trucks, of course, which is good to hear. But also emergency vehicles are exempt for now, so they don't have to worry about any of these regulations. And I think that kind of makes sense considering their higher demands sometimes as far as what they need to do. But anyway, so the fastest changing here trucks here that need to be switched over really soon is the drayage trucks, I believe is how you pronounce that word, which are the trucks that transport stuff from Southern California's ports to warehouses there. And they're the biggest contributor to the smog problem that California always has there in, the LA area. And it's because those trucks are just sitting there idling for hours on end, and, it's just trapped in that valley there. And so that's a very unique Southern California problem. So if other states copy some of these rules, don't expect things to go the same way California is planning them. This is a very unique thing for California here. But anyway, so those trucks, they need to be 100% electric or hydrogen here for the new truck sales. So people buying brand new trucks next year. Again, old stuff is okay for now. But those new trucks have to be 100% electric or hydrogen by next year. By 2024, they need to go all in on that, 100%, which is really fast. I mean, they claim that the technology is there. Apparently there's over 100 trucks available to purchase already that will fulfill those needs. Again, it's a short distance, so it's nothing that needs to have long hauls or anything, but still, to ask everyone that's buying new stuff next year to, switch to that next year is crazy. They and I'll explain a little bit more here later on, but so that's the rules for those. And they did say that most existing trucks will be able to live out their normal lifespans still, with a limit there on that. But anyway, the California Air Resources Board believes the technology is there and the funding is there too, thanks to state and federal incentives that will help with some of those transition costs. So apparently there's billions of dollars being funneled into helping ease the cost burden of upgrading to those trucks to make that a little bit easier. And another quick transition in the truck realm here will be for public agencies who are required to have 50% of their new vehicle fleet purchases here be zero emissions vehicles by next year. So half of their stuff by next year. Again, for new purchases. I don't know how often these public agencies buy new vehicles, but only half of the new stuff they do buy has to be these zero emissions vehicles. So. And they also, though, are required to have all their fleet switched over by 2027. So for them, the deadline is they also need to get that old stuff out of there by 2027, I believe. So there's an exception, though, for garbage trucks, city buses, and utility fleets, which still have till 2040 to switch over for those. And then for private companies here, they're really going after the companies, since most of the drivers in California are independent contractors. So the actual drivers union supports all these changes because for them, it's actually better on the drivers. The drivers aren't breathing in the smog, and they're not having all the other downsides of a diesel powered truck versus what you get within a clean zero emission truck. So they're actually supporting this stuff. But as far as the private companies and the who often take advantage of the truckers, they're saying that 2035 will be the last year to buy a diesel truck for those companies. But buying in 2035 might not be a great idea because there's also a deadline here, and they say that even the stuff that's just existing needs to be 100% zero emissions by 2042. So by 2042, everything, it's got to go to off the road in the scrapyard, whatever, but you can't have it on the road by 2042. For that diesel stuff. So if you do buy one in 2035, you got 7 years to use it, and then it's done. So that's really the new component here that I don't think we've seen since until now, and that's gonna be the big thing that we'll have to keep an eye on to see if that ends up translating and trickling down to privately, passenger-owned vehicles. I'm sure there would be some exemption if they did try and propose something like this to allow for, low miles, for classic vehicles and, just everything else that's been produced in the past 140 years or whatever. So I'm sure going to be something like that. But as of right now, there aren't any things for existing vehicles. But, that could be a big impact on all of us if, California introduces that and then other states and countries follow suit. then that can actually put a deadline on when we can quit enjoying our stuff that we already have. So we'll have to see, about that part. That could ruffle a lot more feathers potentially, but anyway, we'll see, what happens with all this stuff. I think for the trucking, though, I think they said over a quarter of the pollution in California comes from these heavy duty trucks. So they're really trying to help improve the pollution problem, which California has, a massive problem with. So hopefully that does help them. But I mean, man, those are some ambitious goals. So we will see. Obviously a lot of the people that don't like these ideas and plans are saying it's going to create chaos and stuff. But then a lot of other, people are just very excited about it as well. So we'll see what ends up happening. But very interesting there. I just really hope that, they don't trickle down some of these, off the road kind of deadlines for the existing stuff for regular, normal vehicles. But anyway, lastly here, I want to give a huge thank you to all of you that are members of the Maran Motoring Club. So we did have a couple of new members join this past week, and many of those were thanks to the Truck and Car Guy who gifted some memberships here in the live stream this past week. Thank you so much once again for that support every week. I really appreciate it, Truck and Car Guy. So I also, most of the people who got those memberships though on the gifting side were just people who were rejoining that weren't members previously and didn't sign up after the first gifting period or whatever. So anyway, welcome again to all of you who are back on the membership list there. And also I want to give a huge thanks to Spike Money, who also did join and become a member this week as well. So thank you so much for your support. I hope you're enjoying the membership perks so far. And for anyone else who'd like to join, there's always links here in the description as well as also join buttons here on the video page and on the channel page. And also be sure to join in the live stream here where members do get a priority answering here, and that's one of the exclusive perks here for anyone who can join here on Sunday. It'd be great to chat with all of you guys. But anyway, thank you all very much for watching. Please also leave a like, comment, and subscribe to keep these videos coming, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.